Larry Ray, Sarah Lawrence, sex cult leader. How disheartening is it to know that a father physically and psychologically harassed his own daughters, friends, and classmates for not only once, but hear me out, a whole decade.
The case making national headlines, the father who authorities say abused and manipulated his daughter's classmates and others, even staying in his daughter's dorm at Sarah Lawrence College. That father is now facing 60 years in prison, and 2 of his victims are now speaking out.
I was so scared. He wouldn't let me sleep. He controlled what I was eating.
And I was convinced that if I was uncomfortable, if something felt bad to me, that was because of something that was wrong with me.
The man in question is Lawrence Ray, better known as Larry Ray, though you may also know him as the Sarah Lawrence sex cult leader. Before we delve into the depths of his chilling and unethical crimes, let's take a closer look at his background and what may have shaped him into such a monster. Larry was born in Bay Ridge, Brooklyn in 1959. His early years were marked by a lack of stability, both professionally and socially. Without a university education, he started mingling with powerful figures, politicians, top military officials, restaurateurs, and business owners. In all of this, he had one goal: to forge a path where he could evade any consequences he might face for his criminal activities in the future. And Larry was good. Those who lived with him described him as someone who could convincingly present himself as upright, completely unaware of his darker nature. He was seen as a chameleon, adept at manipulating people with his words and then portraying them in horrific ways, traits that he later used to exploit his daughter's friends. But let's hold off on those details for now. Others who knew him said he could be a good old boy or a patriot, or he'd pull out a pipe and fake glasses and act like an intellectual. He'd juggle 10 different people at once, telling them each one just a piece of the story he wanted them to hear, convincing them they were part of his grand scheme. These weren't just idle remarks, they came from real people who had a taste of who he was firsthand. His nefarious side began to emerge when he started working on Wall Street in the 80s. Despite not having any degree, he eventually became a consultant working with clients in insurance, construction, finance, and gambling. He was so ingrained in social circles that he even claimed to be a partner in a popular Italian restaurant where he organized fundraisers for politicians, including one for Patrick Kennedy in 1993. While rubbing elbows with the powerful and amassing wealth, he lived the high life, enjoying time with friends and indulging in luxury. But as often happens, this was destined not to last. Among other powerful connections, Larry's most notable connection was with NYPD detective Bernie Kerik, whom he met in 1995. Captivated by Larry's charm and influential network, Kerik quickly became a close friend with Larry, even serving as his best man. Larry used his ties with powerful figures, including Mikhail Gorbachev, to arrange meetings for Kerik with key influencers, giving Kerik's career a significant boost. Their bond grew stronger when Larry became an FBI informant, though he ultimately exploited this role for his own benefit. However, Larry's world came crashing down when he was caught. The FBI had taken notice of him, especially since he, a seemingly ordinary man, was constantly mingling with high-profile figures, meeting even Robert De Niro through his many contacts. In March 2000, Larry got caught up in securities fraud scheme when federal prosecutors in Brooklyn went after 19 people. He was implicated for attempting to bribe a bond brokerage executive with $100,000 on behalf of Garofalo. Not surprisingly, while he did provide some background info to the FBI, it didn't make a real impact. The prosecutors highlighted how Larry had repeatedly lied to the FBI, which only worsened his situation. Despite his attempts to dodge the charges, reaching out to powerful contacts, pleading for leniency, and even claiming to have recovered Stinger missiles for the US government, nothing could change his fate. His conviction was all but certain. Larry eventually admitted to securities fraud and by 2003 received a sentence of 5 years probation. At his sentencing, the judge didn't mince words, accusing Larry of manipulating the court and warning that any further missteps would result in him getting the full extent of the law, throwing the book at him. But this was just the beginning of a far darker story, the one where Larry harassed his daughter's friends.
I need to go to the hospital. I want to go to bed. I want to go to bed.
Remember how Larry was described as a truthful man, but also a chameleon? Well, that was exactly how his daughter, Talia Ray's friends knew him. During her first year of college, Talia often spoke about her father, portraying him as someone who had been silenced by a group of powerful and vindictive men. She claimed he was imprisoned for his heroic efforts to protect her and her younger sister from their abusive mother, alleging that his incarceration was due to deep-seated government corruption. However, the reality was quite different. Talia's mother had divorced Larry due to his violence, and even after the separation, she accused him of physical abuse. Despite this, Talia and her sister Teresa remained staunchly supportive of their father. Well, let's get back to the story. Larry, freshly out of prison after serving his probation, reached out to his daughter Talia, saying he had nowhere else to go and would need a crash at her place for a while. Let's not forget that at this time, her daughter Talia was living in a dorm with her friends in Sarah Lawrence College. Talia was more than happy to welcome him, and her friends were excited to meet the man they had heard so much about, unaware of the dark side lurking behind his facade. Within days of his arrival, Larry Ray made himself right at home on Sarah Lawrence's campus. He took over the common area, cooking up steak dinners and spending generously on expensive deliveries for Talia and her 7 housemates. As they enjoyed these meals, Larry, with his nasal Brooklyn accent, began spinning his usual tall tales about his illustrious past as a government agent. He claimed to be an ex-CIA operative who had recovered Stinger missiles from the black market and brokered peace in Kosovo. Always eager to impress, Larry preached about Marine Corps values and dropped names of high-ranking U.S. military officers he supposedly knew. Larry's smooth talk and charm quickly convinced some of Talia's roommates that he had a sharp, disciplined mind thanks to supposed government training. Before long, he began counseling several of them, including Isabella, Talia's best friend. Isabella, who had come to Sarah Lawrence on a full scholarship from a Catholic high school in San Antonio, was drawn to Larry, particularly after a tough breakup. I was 19, struggling to make sense of things, and I wasn't in a good place, she later admitted, explaining why she found solace in his company. Talia's boyfriend at the time recalled walking in on Larry and Isabella lounging on Talia's bed, with Larry softly stroking Isabella's hair to comfort her. He said, "Nobody's going to hurt my baby girl," the ex-boyfriend remembers. Larry then announced that he'd been sleeping in Isabella's room, which felt very unsettling to the boyfriend. When he voiced his unease, Larry shot back. "You think I'm going to sleep with her? I'll be on the floor. She just needs someone to be there for her."
Do you think I'm playing with you? Huh? Huh? You're a grown man, I'm a grown man. Now one more time and I'm going to split your tongue in half. Do you understand me?
No. Yeah. Yes.
Right the next night, Isabella's family received a call from Larry saying that Isabella had told him someone had sexually assaulted her when she was just a child, and that someone he claimed was a family friend. He said that if she takes a break and meets her family during winter vacations, she might commit suicide. And to make the situation worse, Larry even told Isabella's mum that she was the sole reason this happened to Isabella. Shortly after, from Isabella to Claudia to 3 other friends, Larry lured each one of them into his trap and sexually assaulted a few of them. For years, he silenced his victims by intimidating them physically, psychologically, legally, and when everything else fails, by publicly shaming and harassment. But the truth was no longer veiled when he was hit with 5 criminal counts, including sex trafficking, extortion and racketeering conspiracy. Over nearly 10 years and in 3 different states, Larry psychologically, physically, and sexually abused several of his daughter's classmates and other acquaintances. Reports say he even forced some victims into prostitution, threatening to dismember another, and recording false confessions from each, making them admit to crimes they have never committed.
Did you in fact poison me?
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely, I did. So I came up four times, I think, or 3 times, but every time I poisoned you.
In January 2023, Larry was sentenced to 60 years in prison, as reported by the U.S. Attorney's Office for the Southern District of New York. The judge praised the bravery of Larry's victims for confronting their abuser in court. Later that November, 2 former students sued the college, claiming it failed to protect them from Larry, whom they alleged had emotionally, physically, and sexually abused them, as reported by the New York Times. As we conclude this case, remember to steer clear of manipulators like Larry. They may appear charming and trustworthy on the outside, but they are often hiding a completely different and dangerous side. If you enjoyed this video and want to support us, we need your help to hit that subscribe button, so that we can hit that number quickly. Until then, take care and goodbye.